Good morning, good afternoon, good night. You might be wondering why she got dark glasses on today. Can I trust what she's saying? Well, the reason I've got dark glasses on today is because I've got a sty on my eye, or my eyelid is infected or something, whatever it is. It doesn't look very attractive and it doesn't make me feel 100%. But sometimes passion rules over how you feel at a particular time. So I am passionate about the subject I'm going to talk about, which is detention. And that is what this is about. Now, you've probably heard on the news that on Friday, just a couple of days from now, they're going to try and get a 28 limit on detention. Before it was a 10-day, but it was totally ignored. There was no requirement to let anybody know how long they were going to be detained for. They could stay there indefinitely. One Nigerian had been in there for 3 years and then he was told he could go. No reason for detaining him, nothing. It'd be different if the people they were detaining were all convicted criminals and they were all destined to be deported. But sometimes they're just deporting people and then trying to find out a reason to deport them or a reason to detain them afterwards. And because there's a delay in getting that evidence, these poor people are stuck in a detention centre indefinitely. And then, you've got immigration officers saying, oh, well, it's reasonable. What's reasonable and to whom? The people in detention centres, they spend each day hoping that somebody is going to open up that door and say, okay, you can go now. It's frustrating. There's uncertainty. There's been 14 suicides in detention centres. Can you imagine the impact on the mental health? Every day waiting and not knowing when you're leaving, not knowing what to tell family members, not knowing what your future lies. And like I said, they are not all convicts. Some people have been picked up under suspicion and they're trying to check out their identity and they're checking out this and they're checking out that. And then because they've got so many of them, they just forget about them. There's supposed to be 11 immigration centres in the UK and, they can hold up to 4,100. Already they're saying, they keep putting beds in and it's overcrowded. People are getting angry and frustrated. But you can imagine, and some of them are being almost forced because they're so fed up of each day not knowing what's happening. And, they're in confined spaces and, their civil liberties are being breached. Their human rights are being breached. So they're saying, okay, send me home, send me home. So it's almost like, not blackmail, but it's almost like they're put in there, put in certain conditions and made to want to go home. And, it wouldn't be so bad if these detention centres offered them, a course in reintegration in the country that they're going to, the destination country. Or they were training them what to do or, that kind of stuff. But they're not. They're put in there and forgotten about. Apparently, people are saying it's worse than prison because there's people who are coming out of prison, think now that they're free because they've done their time and they're being sent straight to the detention centre. One guy called Michal Netyks, he was 35-year-old. He did a prison sentence and he thought he was going home. And he was moved into the detention centre and he fell from his high building and died. What they're saying is that, it's that the hope that you're going to be released. Apparently they deleted that death or tried to delete it. So goodness knows how many more hush-ups there are over how many suicides, deaths, people going mentally ill. We don't hear about the dark side of detention centres. So apparently the Red Cross in July last year had made a petition because one of their asylum seekers had been locked up for over 2 years. So it's resulted in this being heard on Friday. the move to get it a maximum of 28 days time limit. I'd be interested to know what happens after the 28 days. Do they try and ask for an extension of time and then they end up being stuck in there anyway? I don't know. There's no kind of fallback plan. And that's what they do. They make plans, but they don't have any contingencies. And so the plan is no better off. I mean, they're trying, apparently, the UK is the only one who doesn't have a time limit on detention centres. I mean, places like USA and Australia and China, people are stuck in them and forgotten about as well. But in the EU, they do have time limits, and apparently they're trying to push this through before we leave the EU for some reason. But yeah, it is very, very disconcerting. I really feel for the people. I mean, if you've done something wrong and you know it's their way of it being a deterrent for other people and showing that they can control your time and what you do, and that's one thing. But another thing when you've got people in there who you're just trying to pin something on so you can hold them in there as long as possible, or deport them, or find some reason to deport them, that's another thing. That's grossly unfair and inhumane. And so these people are suffering really dire circumstances while they're in detention centres. So on the one hand, I'm so pleased that they've actually got a maximum time limit of 28 days. I'm wondering how realistic that is. I'm wondering what's going to happen if they don't boot them out of the country within 28 days, or solve or come up with something, because they have to come up with something concrete for detaining them. You can't just detain somebody for no reason. You have to have a reason for detaining them. And, you know, I was wondering if that guy that got detained for 3 years and then got released, I wondered if he sued, because he had every right to, and you have 6 years within which you can sue for wrongful detention. So hopefully that guy has done that. But yeah, that's another video about being wrongfully detained and how you go about taking that up. But yeah, I think that's all I'm going to say for now. Yeah, but I hope it's useful. Bye bye.